Hello, my name's John Gilkison, and the title of this video is A Personal History of the Las Cruces, New Mexico Outdoor Lighting Ordinance. I wanted to do a video on this because 16 years have passed since we got the Outdoor Lighting Ordinance passed in Las Cruces, and I wanted to make a historical record of it. But really, well, I was heavily involved with getting it passed. Let's put it that way. So, but the history really goes back to 1979 when I first started out in amateur astronomy, and I can well remember. I got a telescope and I got into amateur astronomy, and right away I realized we lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and me and my future wife had to travel some miles out of town, 10-15 miles, just to get away from the city lights. We used to go out to the Will Rogers Museum and set up my 8-inch. But at any rate, the first thing that came in my mind about it was, well, I just kind of felt the city engineers, the people putting up all this millions of dollars worth of lighting, must know what they're doing. And but anyway, I come to find out over the following decades that they almost invariably do not. Anyway, long story short, I was majoring in astrophysics at Oklahoma University, and in 1982 we moved from Goldsby, Oklahoma, near Norman, Oklahoma, down to Denton, Texas. And as a student position, I took over being I ran the student observatory at what was then North Texas State University. And I lived on the site, and we had about 900 students a year go to these observatories. I had about 6 observatories there, teaching observatories. And I was there for 4 years. And during that 4-year period, I had occasion to get some news publicity, first starting out in the campus newspaper and then in the city newspaper, on how city lights were affecting the observatory and our ability to teach the students. The observatory was located about 6 miles north of Denton, Texas, which did not help. And of course, that's even just a bit further north of Dallas, Texas, which is really a large metropolitan area. So, but at that time we really didn't understand anything about full cutoff lighting, what full cutoff could do to help reduce light pollution. And so, I mean, the answer was, as we was just telling them, basically you just need to tone it down, not have so many lights. And of course that wasn't an option the city fathers were willing to consider, and even to this day it's still not an option in most areas, although it should be. So anyway, in 1986 we moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico. We actually have a home in Radium Springs, which is about 17-18 miles northwest of Las Cruces. So the skies here are pretty dark. We got some light pollution in the southeast. But I started working right away on the Astronomical Society of Las Cruces, trying to get them on board with getting something done about the city lights to control the future growth of light pollution. And invariably, their responses were they didn't think anything could be done, that the city would just never consider any such thing. And of course, there'd been some efforts made in the past, and they had failed, and so forth, and they just didn't think they could have any effect on city government. But also concurrently in 1992 roughly, I became associated with a lighting company, an energy efficiency company called Megawatts Inc. And I was the vice president of this lighting company. So over the decades, you could say my knowledge of lighting in general and outdoor lighting specifically had grown because it was an area I was interested in. So I started writing editorials for the newspaper, and which they published, and I actually wrote a model lighting ordinance for the astronomy club, which after they batted it around for about a year, they pretty much reproduced it in its original form and sent it to the city of Las Cruces. And this culminated in 1998, roughly, of an ad hoc committee being appointed to write a lighting ordinance, an outdoor lighting ordinance for Las Cruces. And they picked 4 citizens and 4 people from the business community to be on the committee. There was me, John Gelkison, and Carol Ryder, Dr. Greg Forbes, and Dr. Kurt Anderson of the astronomy department. And it turned out that most of the 4 people from the business community didn't show up to most of the meetings. We had 1 or 2 of them who would show up. One of them was religious about showing up to object to everything, but that was about it. And the committee appointed me as the chairman of the committee to write the lighting ordinance. And so the lighting ordinance was basically modeled on the model lighting ordinance that I had written a few years earlier. And long story short, we got the ordinance passed in August of 2000, and it's been in effect for 16 years now. It will be in another month, 16 years. So what's in the ordinance? Well, basically it's just a full cutoff lighting ordinance. It calls for full cutoff lighting fixtures for all outdoor lights over 1800 lumens of output. And the reason for that is basically 1800 lumens is the smallest HID or low pressure sodium light that's made, and it also is equivalent to a 100 watt incandescent light bulb, which is about the largest thing you ever want to see on a residence anyway. So basically we're not inconveniencing the average homeowner, but we are encumbering businesses with the idea of full shielding for their outdoor lights so that large portions of the light aren't shining up into the night sky. It's on the old NEMA head fixtures, for example, up to 40% of the light can just escape and either to the night sky or below the horizontal plane, but only down to about 10 or 15 degrees below the horizontal plane in an area we call the glare zone, and that's where the light strikes the ground at such a distance it's no longer useful illumination but constitutes veiling glare. Also, we got a 70-foot candle cap put in the ordinance to stop filling stations and so forth from extreme lighting, which had become all the rage at that time. We were seeing some of these modern filling stations with up to 130 foot candles of lighting. Originally we had tried to get a 50-foot candle cap, but they fought us on that for years, and finally the mayor picked an arbitrary number of 70-foot candles as a way to get some agreement going forward. Other than that, I mean, there's controls on stadium lighting for sports events, which they have to be turned off at 11 o'clock or within 30 minutes of the end of the event or something like that. But so the ordinance is very basic. We also tried to get a lumens per acre cap passed, but no one on the city staff seemed to understand how this would work. Basically, an acre is 43,000 some square feet, and So if you want 1 lumen per foot installed, you would limit lighting to 43,000 plus lumens per acre. Or you could do it in increments. You could limit it to 2 lumens per square foot, so forth, 3. And 3 would be an absolute maximum you'd probably want, about 130,000. But I just never could get people in the city staff to understand it, and so they were understandably afraid of it. That it would backfire and they would look bad or something. So that's about it. The biggest obstacles I've had over the years was number one, convincing the astronomy club that something could be done. I used to tell them that, hell, if 6 people would appear with me down at City Hall clamoring to get something done, the city councilors would think there was a riot going on. And it turned out to be true. Very few people involved clamoring for something to be done got it done. It's a squeaky wheel thing. The other thing is you have to write the lighting ordinance yourself. You cannot get you just can't ask a city to write a lighting ordinance when they don't understand anything about what's needed to be done. And so that turned out to be pivotal. And the other thing is they even though you have city engineers that deal with street lights and so forth, they seem to understand very little conceptually about the whole concept of light pollution and how outdoor lighting affects astronomy, wildlife, the human endocrine system, all the rest, and about what technically is needed in the way of outdoor lighting to be effective, and how overlighting is very counterproductive. It turns out that the human eye is just adapts to any light you put up. So, I mean, there's well over 2,000, 3,000 foot candles in the daytime from sunlight. And you don't really need much more than 1 foot candle and such from street lights underneath the fixture to effectively light an area. And it's just counterproductive if you start putting 2 or 3 foot candles underneath fixtures and you have a lot of them closely spaced. All that simply happens is you begin to lose dark adaptation and the pupil of the eye begins to shut down. So all this lighting power goes for naught. The eye just adapts to see as well as it needs to. And at night the eye still needs to be dark adapted even with outdoor lighting. And it's not a concept that people understand very well. I'll give you a really good example of that. It's when you're driving out in the countryside, you can lean over the steering wheel. You don't have your headlights on, of course, and you can look up and see the stars. And the reason for that is the human eye is dark adapted when you're driving at night. Now, it's counterintuitive. You'd think, well, those headlights would be affecting your eye's dark adaptation. But you have to realize that maybe only about 1% of the light that's being shined forward towards the highway is actually reflected back to the human eye. If you think about it a little bit, you'll realize you have a plane surface that's going away from you, and you have a graze angle that's very steep. So the majority of the light's just being projected forward and bouncing off the ground and going forward. Very little of it gets back to you. And outdoor lighting should not get into a contest with the human eye, because the human eye is the primary instrument for seeing at night, and you need to work with it, not against it. So I hope this helps. You could get a lighting ordinance passed where you are if you can get a small organization of people and you can tell your local municipality what it is you want, what needs to be done. They normally can't fill in all the blanks for you and construct and pass a lighting ordinance that meets your needs when they don't even understand what the problem is. So I'd just like to encourage everyone to work in your local area. Right now we have LED lighting coming on board, so that's a whole separate video we need to talk about. Till later, bye.